game. Now, stop humming this here, everything done changed. That warp tool make you open your brain. Eric Vanek is here, so remember the name. Hey, he got the waiver wire for the week. Tell you who to start and who to give a seat. Dropping the podcast every week. You know the knowledge is elite. After the show, we gon' hold a Lombardi. Celebrating like we throwing a party. This the blueprint and I know they gon' copy. How my intros always go the hardest, cause this is America's game.
Hey everybody, welcome back to America's Game, episode number 11. I am your host, Eric Vanek, and you can follow me on Twitter at Eric Vanek NFL and follow the show at America's Game Pod. Damn, what an intro, man. Fizzle and Adam, man,
Gets
knocked
me
that out of the
hyped.
park.
It never ceases to amaze me how great that whole production just came about.
Right. Adam killed it. Fizzle killed it. Both of them killed it. But that voice that you heard, that is one of our workers here at South Harmon. He does the video editing. You do all kinds of stuff. You did make shorts for YouTube.
Yeah, that short that came out yesterday. Yeah.
Yes. If you haven't seen that, check it out on the YouTube. But his name is Christian Crespo. He works here at South Harmon, and you can follow him on Twitter at ccress. _24. So make sure you guys give him a follow as well. But Christian, what's going on, man?
Nothing. I've told you multiple times. I'm just grateful to be here. Everybody always says that, but no, I've been listening to America's Game for a long time. You and Scott always doing it. I was one of those, as Adam likes to say, the degenerates that would listen to the entire 2.5-hour marathons, and you guys would do the roster breakdowns. And yeah, it's a pleasure to be here. I mean, this is a lot of fun. Thank you.
Yeah, no, I've been looking forward to having you on too. We just haven't been able to schedule it properly, but now we finally got you on here. I'm excited to have you because you have an interesting background too, man, and I wanted to kind of get you on here and shine some light on you. Obviously, you know how to do the video editing and all that stuff, but man, your real life job used to be a scout for the Detroit Tigers baseball team. I mean,
yeah, I did a lot of analytics and stuff for them.
Right. And man, that's just because I used to go, we've talked about it. The Lake County Captains minor league team was literally 5 minutes from my house. And so I would always go there, and minor league baseball has always been fascinating to me, even when I was, in high school and out of high school, following all the prospects and all that. So like baseball scouting has always been pretty cool to me. So it's kind of cool to have you on here, kind of pick your brain about it, man. Like how did you really get into that? Was that like your passion?
Well, baseball has always been my passion since I was little. As soon as I graduated high school, I started working for the Marlins. It was in marketing, but it was part-time, just because I wanted to go to school and still get my degree and stuff. So worked part-time with the Marlins while going to school, did that for 3 years. Then my 4th year, I needed an internship to graduate, so they gave me an internship to do that in marketing as well. Then after that, I went to the winter meetings, sweated because it was the most stressful time of my entire life, just being there, dressed up in a suit, just waiting in a hotel lobby, trying to talk to people as they walk by you, while there are hundreds of other people in my same position vying for the one spot that everybody wants. But I was able to nab an international operations internship with the Tigers, where I did a lot of video stuff for them to, organize scouting pref lists for the international signing period and just a whole mess of stuff. I was based out of Lakeland at the spring training facility. After that year is when I started traveling. I traveled with the low A affiliate at the time, though, West Michigan Whitecaps, which is where I was able to go travel to Lake County. And I did a lot of advanced scouting reports, a lot of video. So, yeah, I have a lot of background in video. I mean, it's just like everything I've done just kind of involved that somehow. But did that for a year, traveled with them that season. Then as soon as the season ended, I got promoted to minor league video coordinator. So I was coordinator for the entire minor leagues with another coordinator as well. And So we did that, and then obviously 2020 hit with COVID, so there wasn't really much traveling and stuff. But we were still, gather the video of player workouts that they would send us, edit that stuff, send them out to scouts, player development coaches, all that. And then, I did that up until October of 2021, and then just hanging out ever since. Basically, I mean, I've coached in.
Right.
I coached in the Appalachian League last summer, which is a collegiate summer baseball league. I went to Driveline and I worked at Driveline for 3 months during the winter. I've been around a lot.
So what kind of like coaching were you doing? Like any specialty, like pitching or hitting or?
Oh, I was a bench coach.
Bench coach. Okay.
Yeah, so I kind of did everything. I mean, I was throwing BP on the field, hitting fungos, and then going to bullpens and helping pitchers develop that, because I did a lot of pitch development when I was with the Tigers in their pitching lab while I was there. And then obviously going to Driveline, I did a lot of pitching stuff there as well. So it's kind of just, I don't know, I describe as a jack of all trades, I guess. But
Right.
no, I like to be involved in as much as I can, because, I mean, the more you learn, the better position yourself in.
Right. So I know like Trevor Bauer started doing like the spin rate stuff for the baseball. Was that, for pitching? Is that kind of the stuff you were kind of implementing a little bit?
Yeah, minus the sticky stuff.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. That's pretty cool. So you said you were like, were you working a lot with like the players and stuff too? Like,
Yeah, every day. I was with minor league and major league players.
Okay. So like when you're doing video stuff with them, is it more one-on-one or is it like you have like three or four guys at a time? Okay, one-on-one.
No, for the most part, it was one-on-one, because it was just like breaking down their film and then helping each individual person achieve whatever we're looking to get out of them, and then what they're looking to achieve as well.
Gotcha. Man, I don't know. I just find all that stuff fascinating. We could probably do like a whole like hour and a half podcast on that. Yeah. That's pretty cool. But now you're doing stuff. Is this with PFF or?
Sports Info Solutions.
Sports Info. Okay. So you're doing scouting for them and you're tracking NFL games on Sundays. How's that all been going? Explain to the people kind of what you're doing with that too.
I mean, it's been a lot of fun. For our listeners, if you listen to the Spotlight series that Mike is doing, he talked with Cody Carpentier, and he spoke about how he used to chart games as well, and how that's how he started with Player Profile. So it's kind of the same thing. Just watch games, chart every single play, the personnel that teams are running, and then just charting the results of the game. But it also, allows for me to see like different trends and stuff, because we're assigned to specific teams every weekend. And so, because I mean, there's no way that just one person could do like so many different things. So we kind of get 1 or 2 games a week, depending on the times that they're played. And then I just go in and I chart every play.
So do you do, do you get a certain team every week, or is it, I think you said you do every other, it's different teams each week, right?
Yeah, different teams each week, just because they want to kind of get different eyes on what's going on, just to make sure that it's not one person seeing one thing and another person seeing another, notice different trends from different people.
So I know you said last week you did the Bills and the Jags, and what was the other one?
And KC, Minnesota.
That's right. So is there anything that you kind of noticed from those, or maybe anything that you've kind of noticed from your games that you've done this season that you found interesting?
I mean, just the overall usage of the players, and kind of like the person. Like I noticed this past week before Kincaid and Knox went out, the Bills are running a lot of 12 personnel. They loved having 2 tight ends on the field, even with Gabe Davis and Stephon Diggs on the outside. Like they don't have a third receiver, so they're obviously going to utilize the guy they drafted in the first round, and then Dawson Knox, who's been around for a while, whether it's run or pass, which is pretty interesting. But the Vikings also, funny enough, are the exact same way. They love running Josh Oliver out there, and they've utilized him in the pass game as well from the beginning. I mean, the stats aren't there, but he's out on the field a lot.
Yeah, I did notice like this week on my waivers, a lot of people in these deep leagues were picking up Brandon Powell, and I'm wondering like with Jefferson out, maybe they just go like what you're talking about. They just run 2 tight ends and just run Osborne and Addison, and that's it. I mean, I think Powell will still get some when they need to, really throw the ball, but I wonder if they do run a lot more often with Josh Oliver and Hawkinson out there. So that's a good point.
Yeah, I mean, as soon as Jefferson went out, Brandon Powell ended up playing 31% of the snaps. So I mean, you figure he didn't really get anything before that. And in the 31% of snaps, he got 6 targets.
Yeah.
So, and Minnesota is going to be in negative game strip a lot. So they're going to be throwing. Kirk Cousins loves to throw. Alexander Madison, Cam Akers, they're not it. I mean, they just look like they're charging up in the backfield, get the ball, and then they forget what they're supposed to do, and they just get drilled in the backfield a lot. So,
right.
Yeah, he's definitely an interesting person to pay attention to. And I also thought Josh Oliver would too, just because they run so much 12 personnel and they love using Hawk. So maybe they use Hawk more as a receiving weapon since he's that athletic. Josh Oliver becomes more of the typical tight end in that offense, and they go from there.
Yeah, I could see that for sure. So, like, if you're in any best ball leagues, these deeper best ball leagues, I don't mind picking up Oliver and Paul and then kind of see what happens from there. Those will definitely be 2, deeper targets.
Tim Jones in Jacksonville.
Yeah, I noticed that too.
Because if Zay Jones is out, he's going to be that guy. I mean, Jamal Agnew is there as well, but he's more of that gadget type player that they like using in sweeps in the backfield and whatnot. So the traditional person that might step into that role is Tim Jones.
Right. I did notice that from the stats this week. I think because they kind of like whatever week it was that Zay missed, I believe it was like week 2. And Agnew actually did play quite a bit. I picked him up in some best ball leagues, and I think he got like 5 catches for 39 yards or something. It wasn't much, but he at least did something. But yeah, they've had Tim Jones there for a couple years now. So I think they're trying to get him finally out there. Parker Washington got hurt, I think, that same game that Zay Jones did. So hopefully Zay isn't out too long, but just some deeper guys to look at. What about the Chiefs? Did you see anything from them?
No, I mean the receivers are doo-doo. Isaiah Pacheco runs like he has a jetpack up his ass, and he's just like charging downfield. Their run blocking is actually really good compared to their pass blocking. I mean, their pass blocking doesn't look as bad, and they're graded pretty well. But I think that's just because of the knowledge that Patrick Mahomes has of his the pocket presence that he has and his ability to escape when he has to. But no, it's a really good offense. I mean, it'll suck if Travis Kelce's down. They just need to find something in that wide receiver room because what they have going on there just isn't working.
Yeah, I mean, even though he was like 4th in snaps this week was Rashee Rice, I still think he's their best receiver.
Yeah, but his snap percentage went down this week.
Yeah.
Compared to it was trending up. And all of a sudden this week, I don't know what happened. I mean, Kadarius Toney is actually healthy, and he's running out there a lot. Sky Moore, just give up.
Yeah, I'm done. Yeah. I'm done with Sky Moore. I dropped him in my home league this week. I actually was out a couple of receivers due to buys and injuries and stuff, so I think I lost Godwin, JSN, and Amon-Ra. So I had to play. Somebody dropped Kadarius Toney the week before I picked him up, and I already had Sky Moore. I had to play them both. And obviously,
Sky Moore's just doing cardio.
Yeah. So I had to drop Sky Moore this week. I mean, honestly, I wish they would just play like, Toney and Rice out there a lot. Like, you could still have Valdez-Scantling, but like, get Justin Ross out of here.
They Watson. Love Justin Watson. Patrick Mahomes loves him. Whenever there's one person out, Justin Watson is running whatever snap percentage he needs to take over whatever the other player. Like if Travis Kelce is out tomorrow, I'm not picking up any tight ends. I'm picking up Justin Watson.
He is Mahomes is Jake Kumaro is exactly who he is. That's exactly what Watson is. He'll always make the team. He'll always be out there, it seems like, but he's just running just a bunch of routes that these other guys could have. And we're like, what the hell are we doing, man? You
Yeah.
know,
But I
just
mean, like him and MVS run identical routes.
mhm.
So having them both on the field at the same time is just redundant.
Right, yeah, and it's Andy Reid. It's like not a dummy when it comes to offense.
Yeah.
So it makes no sense to
Yeah.
me. And they still do this, spreading it out to 9, 10 different, receivers every week. You're using 6 receivers, 2 tight ends, 2 running backs. It's just like, what are we doing?
Yeah.
Like just
Ever since Tyreek Hill left the team, they're just trying to piece it together with
mhm.
different many
And
players
then
as they can.
and then on the opposite side, you look at the Vikings. It's Jefferson, Addison, Osborne, a running back, Hawkinson. That's it. Nobody else really
Yeah.
touches the ball. I love offenses like that. Like Vegas has been like that. There's another couple offenses that are just like that. They give the ball to like 4 different people, 5 at the most, and that's it. And
Yeah.
like Tampa Bay the last couple years has been like that. The running back, Evans, Godwin, maybe a little bit of the tight end, Russell Gage, that was it. Nobody else touched the ball. So I wish the Chiefs would get to that. And you kind of see it too, like in Washington, it's the same thing. Like, oh man, we thought McLaurin, Dotson, maybe Logan Thomas are going to have great years, but no, they're spreading it out to 19 different people too. So
It's a pain in the ass.
yeah, big time. So no, but pretty fascinating stuff. What games do you have this week coming up?
Not sure yet.
Oh, not sure yet. Okay.
Because the job doesn't really change. It's just like the team and assignments. So
Mhm.
you basically know like the times you're working is going to be during. I mean, it's going to be after the games, obviously, but
Mhm.
you just keep those times open on Sundays, early. The graveyard shift hours, and you just go from there.
Gotcha. Okay. It'd be cool if you guys did like a draft every week to see, oh, I want this game, or oh, I don't want this game.
Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, it's cool to just like get the different teams. I mean,
Right.
because you get to see a lot more than you would if you were just watching.
Yeah, I feel bad for you if you get any Cleveland games. You have to suffer through that bullshit like I do every week.
No, I get enough watching the Cowboys every weekend.
Yeah, at least they're fun to watch. Though it's like some of their stuff has been discouraging this year. Like I don't think Brandon Cooks has over like 35 yards in a game yet. Like it makes no sense.
No, I think his total yardage this year is 78. The last time I checked.
Yeah,
which he should be averaging every week.
78.
Yeah.
Like he should have fit right in the Amari Cooper role, and he just hasn't for whatever reason. I don't.
They did so much more with T.Y. Hilton when they signed him last year during the season than what they're doing with him now. I mean, Mike McCarthy is a jabroni. Like he is not a play caller.
Yeah.
I mean, it's insane. And then Schottenheimer's not going to be any better.
No, Schottenheimer is probably worse because every time I've seen him coordinate, it's been a shit show.
Yeah, it's not going to be fun. This is I was talking to my dad and my brother earlier today. I was just like, just trade Dak. Trade Dak for Kirk Cousins. Just get the year, get out of the contract, and then next year you just roll with Trey Lance. And if he doesn't work, then blow it up.
Yeah, I just don't see Jerry doing that.
No, Jerry's too old.
Yeah, he wants to win now.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think, like, losing Diggs was that big of a deal for this year. Like, yeah, it sucks, but I think they could have managed without it. But, yeah, they got to definitely get this offense rolling again like they were, like, the first couple weeks.
Yeah, it's been tough because even on the defensive side, I mean, they've lost basically all their linebackers. Coming into the year, they had Jabril Cox, which they really like, which they drafted out of LSU a couple years ago. They tried to sneak him onto the practice squad because they cut him coming into the year, but he got claimed. There was another, I think Harper was his last name, that they tried to sneak him onto the practice squad as well. He got claimed. Leighton Vander Esch is now going on IR. I saw that they just signed Rashawn Evans to their practice squad. So he'll probably come in and take snaps. But no, the linebackers, I mean, they're talking about moving Parsons out of edge rusher to put him more as a middle linebacker, which is going to suck because it just takes away his value on the defense.
Mm-hmm.
But it is what it is. It's just another year of Cowboys football that I get so excited for.
Yeah, same here with the Browns, man. It's you get one thing, and then the injuries happen, and it completely falls apart. So I get it.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, speaking of injuries, we've had, God, so many bad injuries this week. Justin Jefferson goes on IR. Devin
Yeah.
Achane goes on IR. James Conner. Kelce might have sprained his ankle. There's so
Yeah.
many other ones that I'm probably missing, but let's kind of look into some of these injuries so far and maybe kind of look at, hey, what are we going to do with these guys? So we'll start with Justin Jefferson first. Obviously, he's one of the most valuable pieces in all of football. If you are on a contending team with Justin Jefferson, what are you looking to do with him?
Uh, I don't know. It's so hard. I mean, I have one share of Justin Jefferson in Dynasty, and someone came to me this morning, and they're like, "Oh, it's a Devy league." They came to me and they go, "Oh, I'll send you Jamar Chase for Justin Jefferson, a first round pick, and your Devy first rounder." And I was like,
Yeah, no,
um,
no thanks, there, Chief.
"No thanks, bud. The picks are on the wrong side on that one."
Right.
But no, I mean, I'm just not the type of person that's like, unless you're gonna send me 3 to 4 strong pieces that are gonna help me contend this year, I'm not sending you Justin Jefferson. Like I'll eat it for this year and see what happens. I mean, if I roster constructed properly, I should be able to at least manage, still have my draft capital if I'm able to withhold the storm for the next four. I think they have a bye week in it, so the next 5 weeks, and just go from there. But I think that, I mean, prior to this injury, I know for a little bit, Justin Jefferson was probably, I think, ranked as the most valuable asset in Dynasty. And I just mean, like, he is so unattainable, other than right now, obviously, because people are willing to trade him to do what I said and get the multiple pieces. But for the most part, like, you don't see Justin Jefferson trades happen ever unless somebody is quote unquote overpaying like egregiously for it. It's just not happening.
Right. I saw the one trade this morning in our Discord chat that somebody traded Jefferson and got like 6 pieces. Here it is.
Yeah, I saw there was one.
Go ahead.
Yeah, there was one yesterday that they sent. I think it was Jefferson for Diggs, Pacheco, and Swift. That Barry Dynasty Barry sent in our chat.
Okay.
Um, I don't know, what's the other one?
The other one was a guy gave up Jefferson. He got back DeVonta Smith, Michael Pittman, Travis Etienne, Brock Purdy, and Christian Kirk. So like,
I mean,
yeah,
that's a whole roster.
yeah, I might. I'm probably accepting that if Jefferson is healthy,
Yeah.
just
Oh,
for that. So
100%. But that's what I'm saying. Like, imagine if he was healthy, what else would have had to have been added to that
right.
for the person to actually just like hit accept without thinking about it? Because I'm sure
Hmm.
this person didn't think about it when they saw all those pieces coming back. So
So I want to. The one name you brought up a few minutes ago is Jamar Chase, and I
mm,
kind of am thinking honestly, if I were doing rankings and posting them and all that, I think I would reverse it now and have Chase #1 and Jefferson 2, and that's just because Chase I know is going to be locked up with Joe Burrow. Jefferson
yeah,
now. I don't. Is he going to have Jaron Hall throwing him the fucking ball next year? And I don't know who's going to be throwing him the ball next year.
yeah.
So,
I mean, with so a couple years ago, I'll admit I had Jamar Chase in front of Justin Jefferson for that very same reason, because of the
mhm.
connection he has with Joe Burrow from LSU, and then bringing it over to the NFL, and just the connection that they brought over, seamlessly. Um, but it's just like for me, like if I was for a little bit, other than like the past couple, like last year and this year, um, if I had like let's say if I had Chase, if you wanted Chase, like I would need Jefferson and a little plus. If I had Jefferson and you wanted to get Jefferson for me, I would need Chase and a little plus. Now it's becoming a little more. It was a little more significant in value, um, just because I think the separation and then obviously the slow start, the uncertainty with Burrow's injury for this year and whatnot. But I don't know, Jamar Chase, if he has another week like he just had, he's going to supplant Jefferson going into next year as probably wide receiver one, depending on Marvin Harrison Jr. and the love that everybody will get for him once he does become an NFL player.
Oh, absolutely. I think Marvin Harrison will go right to the top 5 of Dynasty wide receiver ranks if he isn't
He'll
already
jump to
there already.
three. He'll jump to three. It's like Brock
Probably.
Bowers. Brock
Yeah.
Bowers, as soon as he comes in, people are going to have him ranked probably number one and number two.
Yeah, kind of like they did with Pitts. Yeah, same
Yeah,
thing.
and Bijan
Yeah, with
was
Bijan,
number one as soon as he
yeah,
got
yeah, I
drafted.
had him the same way too. So I put Bijan number 1 when he was junior year of Texas, so he was
Yeah,
already there. But yeah, I
yeah,
agree. Harrison will, I think, top 5 conservatively. You're probably right, top 3 behind Jefferson and Chase. But yeah, I kind of am thinking like if you're a Jefferson owner. And maybe that Jamar Chase owner's 2 and 3 or 1 and 4, whatever it is, and you can go out and offer Jefferson for Chase straight up, or maybe you give up Jefferson and a second to get Chase. I think I would be willing to do that just because I like Chase obviously for the rest of the year, and he's gonna have Burrow for the rest of his career most likely. Jefferson,
yeah,
it's up in the air right now of who their quarterback's going to be for next year. Are they going to have to
yeah.
draft one? Are they going to? I mean, if they keep playing this badly and not winning games, they should be in the race for, Drake May or Shadir Sanders or,
JJ McCarthy.
yeah, McCarthy, any of these other guys that are up there. I mean,
Yeah,
we'll see what happens. But if I was them, I would just kind of stick with Cousins, man, because it's been working. Like, I think they have to actually get talent on defense. Like, I think,
my goodness, this just screams Mac Jones.
right. I mean, I like Brian Flores as a defensive coordinator, and I'm not blaming him this year at all for the defense. Like, name me 2 players other than Daniil Hunter. Like, you can't.
Yeah,
I
it's
can't even
definitely
name
tough.
2 other players really. Like, I'm sure I could, but like, there's
Yeah,
just no talent on that defense at all. Like, the one that they're shining little piece is Ivan Pace, and he was an undrafted rookie.
yep.
Like,
I
it's
don't,
just, yeah. So it just shows you how many no-name players that Minnesota has right now that aren't even doing anything. So
yeah,
they're going to have to really focus on drafting defense and signing defense on top of focusing on the offensive line because that offensive line has been poopy for a couple of years now.
yeah,
So they got to get that. I think they could live with Cam Akers or Madison or whoever at running back. Like, I don't think it's ideal, but like, you're not going to be able to spend a draft pick on a 3rd round pick on a Rocket Sanders or Braylon Allen or
no,
whoever. You're going to have to go ahead and just stick with what you got. I mean, I think Ty Chandler's kind of hasn't been what I thought he was going to be, but I think a lot of it has to do with that offensive line. That offensive line is just not very good.
yeah. I
Um,
mean, it's a tough spot for them because their offense really is a lot of RPOs and play actions, but for the most part, Kirk just scrambles out of the pocket and throws the ball downfield because he can. I
yeah,
mean, he's not afraid to chuck the ball, which is good, which is why like the wide receivers are so relevant in fantasy.
yeah,
And it's going to be a big reason why Jordan Addison is going to blow up. I mean, it doesn't matter.
yeah.
It's
Yeah, and even KJ Osborne will be a little bit relevant here too. I agree.
yeah.
So if you were like maybe trying to buy Justin Jefferson, are you like looking to take like 3 assets, like maybe your first, give them Brandon Ayuk and another receiver or another running back, and try and trade for Jefferson? Is that something you're trying to do?
Oh, if I'm not competing 100%, like
Right.
I don't care. Like Brandon Aiyuk, DeVonta Smith, Michael Pittman, anybody in that area. I mean, if I had Garrett Wilson, I would trade Garrett Wilson and a, a second. I mean, you could probably get that done right now, just if somebody wants the points. I mean,
Right.
with the way that people were valuing Garrett Wilson coming into the year, obviously it's different now. But with Aaron Rodgers, his contract situation, he's likely going to be the quarterback again next year for them. So
Right.
that hype is just going to build up again. So you never know.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of like I agree with what you're saying. If I can give up a Devonte Smith, a Brandon Ayuk, do I got to throw in a second or a 1st round pick to get Justin Jefferson? If you're like middle of the pack or down in the
See, I
bottom,
would
and you
just
can
I
do
would
that.
just throw bodies. I wouldn't even use draft capital because for the most part, if you think about it, whoever's a Jefferson manager, if they're competing, they're going to want bodies.
Right.
They're not going to look for the future because if they're looking for the future, they just keep Justin Jefferson, knowing that he's going to come back.
Right. Okay. I could see that too. If you can give up like 3 or 4 useful bodies to throw and get Justin Jefferson, I think that's definitely worth it. So good call on that for sure.
Like if somebody offered you Brandon Ayuk, I mean everybody hates DK Metcalf, but I think DK Metcalf is still pretty underrated.
Yeah, I love DK.
If somebody offered you Brandon Ayuk, DK Metcalf, and let's say somebody like DeAndre Swift or Aaron Jones or somebody like that, that's a big part of the offense. Not a true difference maker, but it's gonna help complete your lineup. Would you do that? Like 2 young receivers and a usable running back for Justin Jefferson.
I think, yeah, if I'm trying to go for the championship this year and I just lost Jefferson for multiple weeks, I think that's something I would definitely consider. If I can get an Aiyuk, Metcalf, and a DeAndre Swift, I think that's probably pretty good because you're kind of looking at DK and Aiyuk are probably worth a first each. Swift, he's like 112 or 2 seconds worth, so you're getting like 3 first value there for Jefferson. And we've talked about that.
About it, DK Metcalf already had his bye week, so you don't have to worry about that anymore.
Yeah,
so
that
he
too.
Just plugs in every week. Plus, you get the other 2 assets that you can use in your lineup. Obviously, this is going to be primarily for lineup leagues because best ball, I mean, you just throw everybody. But for lineup leagues, this is something I would consider doing for sure.
Right. I mean, even for best ball too, like to get those 3 assets that are going to play every week, like that's a no-brainer as well. And me and Scott have talked about it in the past. Like, man, if you look at some of these trades for like when these guys were at their absolute peak, like Jonathan Taylor and Breece Hall, like, oh man, 3 firsts for these guys. Now I wouldn't do it. You know what? In the end, if you always look back on that trade, like the 3 first value was always the winner every single time. So it might be worth it right now if you have Jefferson and you're contending. Man, can I go get DK, Aiyuk, and a running back from this guy and give up Jefferson? So that might be something you could definitely look at.
Yeah.
Next guy I wanted to bring up though is the rookie running back Devin Achane. Man, he is. Looking at Keep Trade Cut, he is RB4.
Yeah.
So he made it all the way up there.
Yikes.
Above Gibbs and Taylor and Walker and all these guys. What are you doing with him? Are you kind of looking to ship him out too? Or are you trying to buy him?
I trade any running back.
If somebody
wants to come to me and offer me a first for him right now, I'll go ahead and I'll take that first and use it for something that's going to be, viable for my lineup, especially in that situation. Like, right. I mean, for the most part, what expectations did you have for him coming into the year? You didn't expect this. This is just a bonus from what you got. Because for the most part, you're a contending team because he was a late first. So you got him basically is just, kind of hoping as to be the replacement for Mostert, Jeff Wilson, whatever, that next phase in running back for the Miami backfield. But so anything you got already is a bonus, and you're likely competing now if you started him.
Right.
So yeah, I'm willing to liquidate him for the first or whatever you can get out of him just to continue to build out the roster.
Okay. Yeah, because I made a trade for him prior to last week. So I was thinking, oh, man, in the point per carry league, I'm going to get him and move on up. So I actually traded Jordan Addison and a third for a chain. And obviously that didn't work out. I also have Jefferson on that team. So now I lost Jefferson as well. So, yeah. Going to have to find some reinforcements there. But
piece that one together.
Yeah. I mean, I'm guessing like if you're a team that's not competing, would you trade for him at all?
I don't know. I guess it would just depend. I'm not really the type of person to trade draft capital for a running back just because of how volatile the position is, and we've seen it, year in and year out. That's the case. I mean, there aren't really any bell cow running backs anymore.
Right.
So, I mean, if I could trade pieces like bodies for him, I will. But I don't know if I'm trading a first for him right now. I mean, it just doesn't make too much sense.
Yeah, trying to give up a first for him, I think, is a little tough right now. But also, no one's going to take a second for him either.
Yeah.
So that's where you're in that dilemma there of, okay, then what can I buy him for? I don't even know if 2 seconds gets it done, to be honest. Like,
Yeah.
you're probably going to have to give up a second and a pretty good player. If you give up a second and DeAndre Swift for him, maybe that's something you could do for him. A second and Josh Jacobs, second and David Montgomery because he's killing it. You
Yeah,
might be able to get doing that.
if I'm not competing, then I would definitely do something like that.
Okay. Yeah, so that's something, our listeners can maybe look at doing. Some of these other guys who got hurt, I don't know if they're going to be playing this week, but like Anthony Richardson's obviously out for 4 weeks. That sucks. Daniel Jones got hurt.
His timetable actually is there is no timetable for his return.
For Richardson?
He's kind of indefinite right now.
Okay. Yeah, so that sucks for Anthony Richardson owners. I mean, he's been doing pretty good.
Yeah.
Now Anthony Richardson's the type of player though that I will go out and buy if I can buy him. I don't care if I have to sit on him. So like maybe I think this would be the perfect one if you're a Justin Fields owner and you really don't believe in Justin Fields or you're still kind of scared off from. Obviously, he's played 2 shit defenses in a row and has had, blow up games. Like, I would think I would go trade some Fields and something else to maybe go and get Richardson. Are you kind of on board with that too?
I mean, yes, because I believe in Anthony Richardson and the talent, but I'm also a Justin Fields truther, and
Oh,
I will
okay.
stand to that.
Okay.
I have a lot of shares of Justin Fields, and I mean, obviously, I would liquidate in certain situations to get Anthony Richardson, depending on how my team is doing. But for the most part, I mean, they kind of have similar profiles. Obviously, the talent level is different. I mean,
Right.
Anthony Richardson is just a beast. But
Right.
coming into this year in startup drafts, Justin Fields was going before Anthony Richardson. Obviously, a mute point now because
Right.
we're seeing them perform on the field. But um, yeah, it's just lineup dependent or roster dependent, to be completely honest.
Okay. Yeah, I think in like any type of point per carry league, if you have that for your quarterbacks,
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
I'm definitely going out and spending whatever it takes to get Anthony Richardson just about, other than trading, any of the top 5, Mahomes, Allen, Hurts, Herbert,
Yeah.
Burrow, Lamar, any of those types. I would be honestly, I think I would be okay trading Trevor Lawrence to get Anthony Richardson too.
Straight up.
Yeah, straight up. I think I would be fine with doing that.
Yeah.
Even if I have, obviously, if I'm competing and I need Lawrence, it kind of sucks. But if I have, a Brock Purdy and a Jared Goff behind Lawrence, I'm okay rolling with Purdy and Goff until Richardson comes back.
Now, what would you add to somebody like CJ Stroud to get A-Rich right now?
I mean, according to
Because
Keep Trade,
with
go
the
ahead.
way that CJ Stroud has been climbing the rankings, like people are already to anoint him a first round startup.
Well, according to Keep Trade Cut, he's quarterback 6 and Richardson is quarterback 8.
Yeah.
So Stroud is already above Richardson. Now I don't know if I'm guessing this is maybe post injury.
Yeah, I wouldn't doubt it.
So I mean, Stroud is already ahead of Lamar Jackson, Trevor Lawrence, Tua Fields. All these guys. He's already way ahead of those guys. So I mean, Stroud's already anointed there. I think this is probably the highest Stroud's value is ever going to get. If somebody's offering me like 3 first value for CJ Stroud, then yeah, like if I can trade my CJ Stroud and get Anthony Richardson and a plus, I'm doing that all day for sure.
Yeah, so am I. Anthony Richardson plus, Tua plus, I mean, Fields plus. I mean, anything really with a plus because if CJ Stroud is going ahead of somebody like Lamar Jackson, I think that's just on the rushing ability alone that Lamar's giving you. I mean, I know the offense doesn't look great right now in Baltimore, but you have to figure it's a brand new system for every single one of those players.
Right.
So it's going to take some time. And the fact that, I mean, Rashard Bateman, Zay Flowers, or Nelson Aguilar, Nelson Aguilar is kind of a known thing, but everybody just dropping all these passes that Lamar was throwing. I mean, I think PFF came out and said he had like a 94 grade, a QB grade from his last game, and that's with all the drops.
Wow.
So, I mean, yeah.
I mean, I had that game on Red Zone, so they showed that game quite a bit, and then obviously watching Lamar from the week before, like his passing has improved for sure, and the drops, man, last week I know Zay Flowers had one, Bateman had one in the end zone, Odell got banged up again a little bit. These guys are dropping the passes are not helping Lamar, but Lamar definitely, I'm still having him in that top tiers with Mahomes and Allens and Hurts for sure. Especially with the way he's still running the ball too. It's not like he's not, running it. So yeah, definitely Lamar would be up there. But yeah, it's crazy to have Stroud above Lamar. I'm definitely taking Lamar over Stroud for sure. But yeah, if you guys are looking to maybe trade for Richardson, I would do it. I think just from his games that he's showing me, obviously he needs to work on sliding and protecting himself a little bit better, which I think he will. Like
he needs to go to the Tua Falling Academy.
Right. If Richardson really hits his ceiling, like I think he could be as close to Jalen Hurts as we have in the league. Like I think he's just as talented, if not maybe more talented than Jalen Hurts if he really hits his ceiling. So I would be willing to trade for Richardson. If, like you said, if you can give up Justin Fields plus to get Richardson or anything like that, I think I would be willing to do it. So that's another one our listeners can maybe try out. Any of these like other little injuries that have happened, like James Conner, I'd sell him for a third right now. Just get rid of him. Khalil Herbert, probably any third. You can have him. Trying to think of some other guys that have gotten hurt. What about Javonte Williams? What do you think about him? I haven't really been a big fan of his.
I bought into him for a little bit, but before the season, I sold every single one of my shares. And the unfortunate part of that was that I saw almost every share that I sold was for Nick Chubb, so that didn't really help me much. But I don't know. I was mentioning it in our Discord that. Somebody brought it up asking if Jaleel McLaughlin just looks more than just a jag, and he 100% does. And kudos to you for that call from the very beginning. I mean, Sean Payton going back to his days in New Orleans, I mean, he used multiple running backs, and it was never like the feature guy that we always thought. Like Pierre Thomas is the one to me that always comes to mind.
Yep.
Like he wasn't the head back, when Reggie Bush was there and all that, but for the most part, Pierre Thomas got a lot of touches, and that's kind of like the role that I see for Jaleel McLaughlin going forward, even with Javonte coming back. Javonte's not Sean Payton's running back.
Right.
So I don't think that – I mean, he'll come up with the excuse that, we want to continue to just work him into the offense while Jaleel McLaughlin's been here throughout all of camp and he really impressed us. He's going to come up with some of that bullshit. And Jaleel McLaughlin's going to lead that backfield in snaps going forward. I think it's definitely a possibility.
Right. I'm with you on that for sure. Because Jaleel, he just looks like the most explosive back. Now, he's not the ideal size or anything, but, I mean, a chain wasn't the ideal size either, and he was the top
Warren's
fantasy.
Not the ideal size either, and he's getting a lot more. I mean, he's not – that offense is – doo-doo, but he looks better than old man Najee back there.
Speaking of that, so I did find it was actually in our Discord that somebody posted the
Liz has been posting that up a few times about his efficiency and his yards after contact and all that.
Right, yeah.
Coming into the year, I loved Najee, and I was trying to buy him coming into the year in almost everywhere. And I still kind of believe in him, and I don't know if that's just me just being hard-headed and sticking to my priors, but
I was with you on Najee too, because I thought he was going to improve, because all of last year he was dealing with that foot injury all year, that Liz Frank injury. Yeah. So
and I was offensive line.
Right, and I thought the offensive line would be a lot better this year, and it hasn't been, but Najee, I hope he gets it together going here. Hopefully that offensive line improves, but it just hasn't looked great so far. But yeah, I just wanted to bring that up real quick. So I think this was prior to last week's games, these stats, or maybe it was 3 weeks ago or 2 weeks ago. Not sure, but anyway, Steelers running backs this season running behind PFF's 27th ranked run blocking offensive line. Najee Harris had 49 attempts. He averaged 7.08 men in the box, which was 65th percentile. He had 4.29 yards per carry, 57th percentile in that time. Jalen Warren had 24 attempts. He averaged 6.71 average men in the box, 18th percentile, and he only averaged 3.38 yards per carry, which is 18th percentile, so a full yard behind Najee Harris.
Yeah, I think with that, the reason for it is because when Warren is in there, they're expecting him to pass.
Right,
Because
exactly.
Najee had a ton of targets his first year, but that's because he had Ben Roethlisberger. Kenny
Right.
Pickett's not going to rely on dump-off passes. He's going to try to prove himself when he's out there because he's a young quarterback.
Right.
So when Najee's in the game, defenses are kind of keying in on him, and they're going to stack the box, force Pickett to throw because he hasn't really shown much yet. When Warren's in there, they figure, okay, they're looking to pass more, so that's when you kind of get the extra defensive back on the field rather than a pass rusher, and so.
Yeah, I agree with all that. And then they also mentioned that Najee Harris was second in breakaway run rate so far, 13th in evaded tackles, and 14th in juke rate. And then if you looked at the yards after contact per rush leaders on minimum 40 attempts, Christian McCaffrey led at 4.04, Pacheco 3.75, Jerome Ford 3.68, Najee Harris 3.53 at fourth, and fifth is Bijan at 3.47. So, I mean, the stats have looked okay here so far this year for Najee. I just think that offensive line is bad. Matt Canada needs to go. Everyone knows Matt Canada needs to go for about 3 years now. I just don't know if that's going to happen. Probably not till the end of the year, at least. Their offensive line, that Broderick Jones that they drafted, just hasn't really, hit yet.
Yeah, it's taken him a while.
Yeah, it's taken him a little bit. So hopefully he gets going. But yeah, I mean, I was listening to some stuff about, Mike Tomlin talking about how they talked about with the offensive coordinator, the owner, the GM, like how we need to get back to playing Steeler football and running the ball. So they just haven't been able to do that as much this year with that offensive line. Like that offensive line really needs to improve. They're going to have to, hit free agency and really hit that draft again this year for offensive line. And especially this offensive line class coming into this year. I know
I've listened. Deep class.
Yeah. Dane Brugler's talked about, the tackles really being a 7-8 deep again. So I think there's going to be a lot of if you can do it now, take the over on offensive linemen drafted in the first round. There's going to be probably at least 7 or 8 tackles, and that's not counting guards or centers. I don't know what's there yet, but it's a really a pandemic around the league. Like teams not having enough offensive line play, like.
Old man Jason Peters is still getting signed off the streets to start the team.
Yeah, because he's competent.
Crazy.
Right. He's competent. He knows what the hell he's doing. And, he's can block people. Like, it's kind of crazy. Like, these colleges, it's, there's just pass happy, pass. Sure, these guys can pass block, probably better. But it's like they've almost, like, lost the art of run blocking. It's like they just aren't that good. And then some of these pass blockers too are just have not been good at all. Some of the but it's also these pass rushers, man. Like you put Aiden Hutchinson in the middle over a guard and he just smokes the guard every time. Michael Parsons, same thing. Like these guys are just little animals. Myles Garrett, Daniel Hunter, like I've just seen these guys just literally wreck games this year. So hopefully the college game, switches on a light here and just get some of these offensive linemen a lot better. Just the whole game needs it, college football and NFL football. So hopefully they get it together there. So try to look at some other guys that could be of value here. One that I want to talk about a little bit because I really have liked him this year is, a lot of our leagues, we struggle for tight end play and getting a solid tight end. I mean, I think the guy to get right now is Logan Thomas for Washington, and it's probably just a 1-year stopgap thing for your team. But if you're starting some of these guys who like just struggle to get you any points every week, like You're starting Chig Okonkwo, you're starting Dalton Schultz, Tyler Higbee. Like, I think I'm going out and buying Logan Thomas. Do you agree?
Yeah, there are three guys that I would actually go to look to target if you went with like the
Okay.
hero tight end. So Logan Thomas is one. Actually, four tight ends. So Logan Thomas is one. Zach
Mhm.
Ertz is another.
Okay.
Um, Even though their offense looks kind of incompetent right now outside of Adam Thielen, Hayden Hurst is still running all the routes for main majority of the routes for tight end.
Hmm.
And then Noah Fant. The
No
Seahawks
fan. Yep.
love to run 2, 3 tight ends out at a time, and
Mhm.
Noah Fant just continues to get disrespected. But he's I mean, coming out of Iowa, shout out to Mike. He Noah Fant's a talented tight end, and he's been getting more and more run leading into the bye, and I think that coming out it's just going to be the same thing.
Right. Yeah, I agree with you on Fant. My only thing with him is when it's just him and one of the other tight ends, it's pretty solid. I know Fant got a lot of that last game against the Giants. He got a lot of his stuff on one play. But yeah, even before that, he had some pretty decent games. But when they play three tight ends and Disley's out there, I don't know if Disley will be back this week. Man, they literally split those snaps 33% each.
Yeah.
It's like it's not the kind of tight end I want to be playing because you have to be so efficient and so good on your limited targets that you're even getting.
Yeah, but that's the thing. He's not running typical tight end targets. He's running more
Right.
receiver targets,
Right.
which is, I mean, it helps them because they have DK. For some reason, DK Metcalf is running deep down the field on almost every play. He's running the Tyler Lockett routes a lot.
Mm-hmm.
JSN is running backwards because his A dot is negative.
Mm.
So, I mean, Noah Fant. I mean, I just think that another thing to think about is like, so this is Dynasty. You think in a future. Noah Fant's a free agent at the end of the year. He's not going to be back in Seattle.
Right.
Somebody's going to utilize that. For the price that it costs to acquire him right now, I'm willing to go out there and get him.
Okay. Yeah, I can buy that because he isn't worth. You could probably get him for a third round pick. I don't think.
Yeah.
I'm not paying a second for him.
No,
I can maybe,
you can get it for a third, maybe third and fab. Like it's not
yeah,
gonna
third
take much.
fab. Yep. But yeah, man, Logan Thomas is the one who sticks out to me as like he is tight end 31 right now on keep trade cut. And there's probably 15, 20 guys I'd play him over that are above him right now. So if your guys are struggling for tight ends, that's a guy I would look at too. Here's another one that's interesting. It's a couple spots above him is Jonnu Smith. What do you think about him so far? Because this is like 3 games in a row that he has like done really well. I've actually started him 2 weeks in a row in some leagues, and he's literally won me some weeks.
Yeah, coming into the year, I just knew that connection was going to be there. I mean, Arthur
Mhm.
Smith, Jonnu Smith, the connection from Tennessee, just the way that Arthur Smith likes to run his offense. I mean, Kyle Pitts isn't even being used as a tight end. He's being used as a receiver because they don't have receivers on that team outside of Drake London. I mean, Kadero Hodge is running routes. Mac Hollins has been displaced by Kadero Hodge at this point.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, Jonnu Smith, he just fits that offense.
Yeah, I mean that's another team that it's Pitts, it's Jonnu, it's Drake London, and Bijan, and they don't throw to anybody else. And
No.
they actually need to throw a little bit more because they don't give those guys enough targets. So yeah, that's Jonnu's another good one that you can probably buy cheap. Noah Fant, like you mentioned, Logan Thomas. I did like Cade Otton, but then yeah, he runs a lot of routes, plays a lot of snaps, but it's like 13 yards, 17 yards. Like, I don't think you can really trust that. Zach Ertz, who you mentioned, he's running a ton of routes and getting a lot of targets, so I don't mind that one either. And you can probably pick him up for a third, especially if, like I said, if your tight ends are struggling here, your Chig Okonkwo, your Tyler Higbees, your Hunter Henrys. Hunter Henry's had a good year, but last week he had a big goose egg. Just these tight ends, man, especially in lineup leagues, it is super hard trying to pick these guys. So if you can try and get one of these elite tight ends, LaPorta, Kelce, Hawkinson, Andrews, Kittles. If you can get one of those guys, I'd go ahead and do it. But like after that, Goddard's kind of picked it up the last couple of weeks. Yeah, it's like some of these guys you don't even bother with. If I can build my best ball tight ends with Noah Fant, Jonnu Smith, Logan Thomas, I would certainly, be excited to have that out there than I would to have, Pat Fryermuth and Michael Mayer and, Chig
Dalton
Okonkwo.
Kincaid.
Yeah, like these ones that you just can't rely on at all. So if I can, trade back from, Chig Okonkwo, get Logan Thomas in a third, I'll go ahead and do that. Something
For
like,
sure.
do that. So a lot of these tight ends, they're going to get, I don't want to say replaced, but they just fall down the pecking order. And then, this year, the last couple of years, honestly, the tight ends, I think we're kind of seeing like a renaissance with these, rookie tight ends that are coming in and producing from day one. Like, obviously, LaPorta, he's tight end one on Keep Trade Cut now, above Kelce.
Yeah.
Kincaid has been okay, but he's still rated pretty high. Musgrave has done pretty good. Jake Ferguson was a rookie last year. He's producing. The Raiders finally used Michael Mayer last week. And then you kind of look from a couple years ago with Cade Otton, Daniel Bellinger, Jelani Woods, Isaiah Likely, all those guys that really hit in their first year. So we're starting to see these tight ends starting to pick up the NFL game a little bit faster, especially when it comes to drafting these guys. Like, I might be a little bit more in on some of them, especially if I like their talent.
Yeah, same here. I agree.
So, something to look at for the future on the tight end spots. Any other guys you want to bring up that I might be missing?
Not off the top of my head. I mean, we've hit on really all the key points, all the key names right now.
Okay. Yeah, because I'm trying to look through some of these positions here, kind of see who's gotten injured, who's not. Yeah, just some of these guys. Oh, that's the one I wanted to bring up. So you did mention JSN a little bit.
Mhm.
I think after this bye week now, hoping at least, I don't know this for a fact, but I'm thinking hopefully the Seahawks looked, hey, we got to get better at getting JSN involved. Like, we use this high draft pick on him, and usually after teams have bye weeks, they reassess. Right, yeah, the rookies get more involved. They reassess the offense. I think this is going to be the JSN week, and they're playing the Bengals. Not the greatest defense in the world right now. So if you can fit JSN into your starting lineups this week, I think I definitely would. I think this could be a really big JSN week, especially going back to Ohio, playing probably in front of a bunch of family and friends at Cincinnati this week. I think this could be a really good JSN week. So, and this might be your last time to go out and buy them cheap too.
I was like last week with Breece Hall. I tried to buy Breece Hall everywhere before that Denver matchup.
Mm-hmm. And did you have any success with that?
Absolute declines every time.
Yeah.
Some of them were so fast I couldn't even close the app before I got through.
Yeah, I've had those before too. They just you can't even get the offer out there. It seems like it's already rejected.
It's like you're thinking about it, but they just sent you a message out of the blue like, no, decline.
Right. Yeah, I'm gonna have to definitely look at some of my teams where I can maybe go and acquire JSN. Like, I'd be willing to give up a Calvin Ridley, a Deebo Samuel, Chris Godwin. I'd be willing to give up like Hollywood. I don't think anybody likes Hollywood, to be honest. Terry McLaurin. Yeah, Terry McLaurin, Amari Cooper. Like, I'd be willing to give up any of these types of guys plus a little bit, even if I have to give up like a second or a player that's kind of worth like a second. Like, God, somebody wants Amari Cooper and Jalen Warren for JSN. I'll do that all day long. I'll take JSN side. So that's another one I think people can go out this week and try and buy some JSN for sure.
I agree.
All right. You ready to play America's favorite game before we get out of here?
This is the only reason why I accepted this invitation.
All right. So this one is just unique for you. You can leave the player name out if you don't want to name who the player is, but give me like your favorite scouting story or interaction with a player that you've had.
Man, I mean, Miguel Cabrera is the reason why I fell in love with baseball when I first started watching, being born and raised in Miami. 2003 was like the first season that I really started paying attention, and that was the year the Marlins won, and that was the year Miguel Cabrera debuted. So just
Yep.
being able to follow him, and then when he got traded to the Tigers, I cried, like legit tears. I didn't want to talk to anybody, and I was so depressed. And then it just so happened that I started working with the Tigers, and I was able to be involved in that. And just the coolest. He's the funnest person to be around because his persona. He's a child.
Right.
Like, he is so nice, so genuine. Like, he messes around with you. He doesn't care who you are, what you're doing there. He doesn't care if you're in the batting cages with him or if you're just a fan there waiting for an autograph during spring training. Like, he's going to give you the time of day, like, no matter what. But I think the coolest thing is just being able to – I remember the first time I saw him go through his pre-batting batting cage routine and, like, everything he does from – flips to tee work to flips to over like regular pitch to him saying, okay, I'm going to hit 5 balls here, 4 balls over there, 3 in the back corner of the cage, and just like hit the same spot every time. It's just the coolest. It was so much fun to watch, and it was just one of those things that, you know, you'll never truly appreciate it until it passes, which sucks. But like, just looking back now, just thinking about it, I mean, it was great.
Yeah, especially now that he's retired and all that. Had a nice...
I cried his last game. Yep.
Yeah, he. So I'm like you. I with the Indians and all that, and then they weren't the greatest there, especially like the early 2000s again. That was kind of coming out of when they were good and they started to rebuild and everyone was leaving the team, Jim Thome and Manny and all those guys. So I kind of I definitely was a big baseball fan growing up as well, and I kind of was like you, man. I mean, you were from there, so you were more invested, but I really just liked that team a lot. That whole Marlins like 2003 team where they won it, man. Like Josh Beckett, I always really liked. I always liked Mike Lowell. That was one of my favorite third basemen. He was always really good. Derek Lee, Juan Pierre was so fun to watch because he was just so different than every other player. Like he was just get on. He was so fast and he'd just steal all these bases. Like I've always enjoyed guys like that because growing up here, obviously, I got to see Kenny Lofton, and he, just how amazing of a base stealer he was too. So I always enjoyed players like that could steal. Luis Castillo could do the same thing there for the Marlins.
That entire starting lineup. I mean, I could name the entire starting lineup, like the position wise. It was so much fun.
Oh yeah, that team, and then obviously I don't want to say it was halfway through the year, but it was kind of close. I think it was before the All-Star break is when Dontrell Willis came up too. And he was the high leg kick. He was just so fun and energetic. And then Miguel Cabrera came around, and we was playing left field for them. Wasn't even the third base.
Yeah, before we end it, Miguel Cabrera was signed as an international free agent as a shortstop.
Yeah, I remember
while he was progressing through the minor leagues, the Marlins knew. So they had a player named Todd Hollandsworth. I don't know if you remember him.
Yep, I remember him.
But he was ass. He was terrible.
Yep.
David Sampson was talking about it on his podcast, but he said that he went to the farm director and said, I want Miguel Cabrera to practice taking reps in the outfield so we can replace Hollandsworth. They said, we want 5-6 games, about a week's worth of games of him playing in the outfield before we bring him up. He played 1 game in the outfield, and they called him up the very next day.
Wow.
So he went from being a shortstop in the minor leagues to then being played 1 game in the outfield in the minors, became an outfielder at the major league level for a team that won the World Series, then moved to third base, then moved to first base, and he did all that while still being one of the best hitters in the entire game of baseball. And that's like the stuff that you have to appreciate of someone like him, because we're never going to see something like that again.
Right. So I just kind of pulled up the roster just to kind of remember. Like, hell, I didn't even remember. I forgot Ivan Rodriguez was on there, but he was
the catcher.
Yeah, he was the catcher, obviously, and he made that big play against the Giants. Yep. And he held the ball up and everything.
Decided to hold up. He threw the ball at home plate, got trucked at home, held the ball up. Yeah, it was.
Yeah, I remember that play. I'm like, oh shit, I forgot about that. Their infield was Derek Lee, Luis Castillo, Alex Gonzalez, Mike Lowell. Obviously, Miguel Cabrera, Conine was still there. Juan Encarnacion was out there. Pierre, Todd Hollinsworth. Obviously, Miguel Cabrera ended up coming up to replace Hollinsworth. But yeah, man.
Mike Redmond, backup catcher.
Yep. Ramon Castro is there too.
And the starting rotation too. Beckett, Pavano, Penny, obviously Dontrell.
Yep.
And I forgot who.
I think it was. Was it Braden Looper? Or was he a reliever at that point?
No, I think it was a reliever.
Okay. But yeah, I mean, just looking at even some of these, the relievers that they had too. Ugi Urbina was the closer. He was so fun. He was so animated. You know, you mentioned some of the other guys. Like I remember Looper was pretty solid there. Chad Fox was decent.
Mark Redmond.
Yeah, Mark Redmond. He must not have been on this team. Alfonseca wasn't on this team though.
No, I don't believe so.
No, but he was a lot of fun when I ever watched them too. I mean, he might have left like the year before or something. But yeah, man, they had a really fun team. Went and beat the Yankees. They beat the Cubs, like that Cubs team that everybody loved, that they thought was going to be the team to break the curse with Mark Pryor and Kerry Wood, like
Moises Alou,
yeah, just like crazy playoff run that this team had, and really fun team. Was definitely one of my favorite teams for sure. So I'll give my little favorite story too, about that, about players. So kind of, I'm just looking up the other starter. So it was Willis, Mark Redmond, Penny, Pavano, and Beckett were the four starters, and Burnett obviously, but Burnett got hurt during the year. But anyways, so one of my favorite stories was at the Lake County Captain's Stadium. So the year before, they were in the World Series against the Braves team, the Rome Braves, in Single A. And there was a guy there, because me and my buddy would go all the time, and we would like hang out at like the opposing team's bullpen, like because it was right by the wall there in left field. So we would just harass them and just do stupid shit. And they had this guy there. His name was Sung Jung. And he was their closer. He was actually really cool. So we got Sung Jung's autograph after the game and all this stuff. So we go the next year to a Braves. The Rome Braves came back, and me and my buddy go back to the corner. And obviously teams have changed. People have moved up and down and stuff. And we're harassing the team in the corner again. And it's the catcher. Us and the catcher are kind of going, talking and stuff, and we actually ended up talking to him, and it was a really cool guy. We were asking him what happened to Sung Jung and stuff, and I think he had moved on back to Korea or something like that, wherever he was from. And so the catcher ended up being actually one of the top prospects that the Braves had at the time, and that was Jared Saltalamacchia. One of their catcher.
Salty.
Yes. So he was really cool. He actually gave me and my buddy tickets for the next game. The day before it was actually like a day game. He gave us tickets for the next day, and obviously he didn't start this game that we went to the first time. Obviously, if we're talking to him down in the bullpen, but he's like their top prospect, catcher, whatever. He's usually the starter. So we caught him on his off day. And he hit one off the scoreboard, and I'm like, that's pretty cool. Like, here I am talking to this guy the day before, the next day he's hitting one off the fucking scoreboard. So that was always one of my favorite little interactions I had. And had all kinds of cool interaction. There was another time too. They did like a fans kind of thing, like a home run derby after a game. So all the players were down by like the first base dugout. Me and my buddies kind of went down there, and we were just bullshitting with a couple of the Indians players. I would say the most famous one that actually made the majors there was Kevin Kuzminoff. He played third base for.
I remember him.
Yeah, he played for the Indians, and I think the Dodgers or Padres.
He played for a couple teams.
Right. So he was down there. There's a couple other guys who never really made it, so I won't even mention their names. But so we were just bullshit with those guys. So like, yeah, playing with these minor league players, it's always kind of fun to just to hang out with some of those guys.
For the most part, they're just kids, especially at that level.
Yeah, they're 18, 19, 20, 21 years old. Yep. You know, they're doing stupid shit, and it's funny too. Like you like in the parking lot back in the corner of where the stadium is where all the players park, where the clubhouse is at, and they got these like, the C8 Corvettes, and they got all these fancy cars. Like, man, you guys don't make that much money first off, and you're already buying these fancy ass cars and shit.
Signing bonus money,
right? Yeah, like that's what you're spending your signing bonus on. Like, Garrett. Like, I don't even know what the rate is of making the major leagues, but it's probably like less than 10% of even making the majors just for like any random, single A player. Cause they're, before the pandemic, like I think the Indians had like 3 different A teams. Like they had a high A, a low A, or a regular A, and then like a low A team. Then they had the double A, triple A team. And ever since the pandemic and all that affected everybody, everything got cut down to one triple A, one double A, one single A team now. So that kind of sucks. But yeah, man, if you guys ever get a chance to go out to minor league baseball,
it's
I definitely
100% worth it.
Yeah, like they do a lot of stuff for fans and good times for sure. Yeah. Especially like going to any of these like MLB games and stuff nowadays. Like the prices for stuff, you're paying $8 for a beer, $6 for a hot dog. Like at these like minor league stadiums, you're like $8 gets you a drink and the hot dog, something like that. Yeah. So definitely fun for families and stuff. I definitely always support minor league baseball. Always a good time. So
absolutely.
Yeah. So, man, I appreciate having you on. It's been a lot of fun going over this.
Finally having me, man. This was awesome. Yeah.
Yeah. We'll definitely have you on again for sure at some point. But yeah, man, I just want to say thank you for coming on, man. It's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, it definitely was. I really did enjoy it.
Yes, me too. All right, so with that, guys, you can follow me on Twitter at Eric Vanek NFL. You can follow the show at America's Game Pod. Remember, we got the South Harmon account at South Harmon FF. Fizzle's the one running that, posting all our stuff that we're doing every week, our articles, the 4D Chess podcast, all our other podcasts are on there. Make sure Sundays you're tuning in to Start Sit live on YouTube, which is at South Harmon FF as well on YouTube. Me, Mike, and Adam, we're doing Start Sit questions for you guys, helping you out every single Sunday morning. Whatever questions you got, we're answering it. Last week, I think people were watching the Jacksonville and Bills game a lot more, so we ended up taking some trade questions too. So hey,
even if you don't have any start sit questions, just jump in the chat with everybody that's there, because that thing gets crazy too.
Yeah, it was fun. Christian posted a short on YouTube from last week of calling out
highlights.
Calling out Adams bullshit. Breece Hall, I'm not starting him. He's gonna have a shitty game. There goes Breece Hall for 170 yards.
Fuck you, Zach Moss. Good job, Mike.
Zach Moss. I ain't starting him, and he's dead now because Taylor's back, and Zach Moss goes out for 165 or whatever it was. So we always have a good time on that. So we'd love for you guys to join us every Sunday morning. So appreciate that. Christian, you got anything you want to plug, man, before we get out of here?
Not at all. Like I said, I really appreciated this. And for anybody that has not joined the South Harmon Patreon yet, definitely recommend it, because we have just as much fun in the Discord on a daily basis.
Absolutely.
Answering questions throughout the day there as well. I mean, I have people messaging me personally, asking me questions, which I'm always available for there on Twitter. doesn't matter. I just enjoy the hell out of this.
Yeah, that's another great thing. The Patreon, man, the Discord channel alone, like trade questions, trade advice, startups, buys and sells. We have betting stuff.
C2C, Devi. I mean, we've got
Yes.
everything in there.
I can't forget Koopa's Warp Tool. Like, if you join on the website, buy the Warp Tool. Any kind of warp stuff is available on the Discord as well. Koopa's more than happy to answer questions for you guys. So definitely worth it.
That's
So
Elite Simulator too. I mean, that's
yes,
huge too, especially when you want to make trades and you're trying to see like where people are projected to end, if it involves draft capital and stuff like that. So definitely recommend Koopa's tool simulator. I mean, he killed that. Fizzle's killing it on social media. You're killing it on AG and the start sit, and the waiver wire show. Mike and Adam are killing it too on the 4D chess part. I'm just glad to be a part of it. I'm just here to have fun.
absolutely. Me too. So make sure you guys do all that. You can follow Christian at @CCress_24 on Twitter as well. Make sure you guys follow him there. And then until next week, we will see you guys for episode 12.
See ya.